Welcome, everybody. This is the Sports Den here on Stream Punk Sports, and we have a special guest with us today, Jerry Carino from Gannett, New Jersey, and the Asbury Park Press, college basketball writer extraordinaire. 20 years now covering Seton Hall basketball, I believe.
20 years, man. Where did the time go?
Yeah, I was. You were real nice to me starting out when I was a clueless college student working at WSU at the time.
Wow, I mean that was a much younger version of me, and about 20 pirate coaches ago. It seems like it anyway.
The older you get, the faster time goes, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and then there's of course Scott Churchson below me, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. We have the Big East tournament coming up this week. The Garden is a magical place, and Seton Hall has had an up and down season, but we had a surprise win that we saw in Providence over the weekend. What were your thoughts on that? Do you think it was more? Was it something finally clicking for the Hall, or was it just Providence just checked out? Because I've seemed like a bit of both.
It's a good question. First of all, I think it was the most stunning result of the entire season. I was flabbergasted. I mean, I didn't think they would win. Forget about winning by 24 and just totally drop kicking Providence from the start. Really shocking to go up there with seven healthy guys, 8 guys, 7 guys in the rotation and do that without Kadari Richmond. I don't know how Providence could be disinterested. Like they're on the bubble. I mean, they're not that secure in the NCAA tournament, so I don't see why they would be disinterested. But yes, Providence, Seton Hall made them look bad. And I think it was it lightning in a bottle for Seton Hall? Like one of those games where the shots just went in. I saw a pretty well-run offense there. And my thinking is maybe Femi Odekale is really hitting his stride now that the ball is in his hands. Like nobody wants to lose Kadari Richmond. He's terrific point guard, but Femi's been playing off the ball. He's been a little bit of a struggle for him offensively. He's played really good defense all season, but maybe them getting used to him running the show offensively is what they needed for this at this point in time. And so sometimes change is good. Sometimes a spark can come from an unpredictable place. So I think he was really the straw that stirred the drink. And he played well against Villanova. Seton Hall played well offensively against Villanova. The game before, Villanova just made their free throws and closed it out really well. And then you saw the explosion against Providence, which I think it gives you some hope going into the Big East tournament that maybe Seton Hall has one last peek in them.
Yeah,
Kyle, by the way.
Yeah, welcome, Kyle. Kyle's a Villanova grad, so he's right in the Big East ecosystem with us as well.
And it gets a little testy between the two of them and our Rutgers guy as well. So it's a lot of fun to watch that, by the way.
Well, there's a lot Villanova and Seton Hall are in that same half of the bracket, and I think that's the place to be. Like if you want to make a run, a dark horse run to the final, it's out of the bottom half of the Big East bracket. The top half, forget it. I mean, the 2 best teams are up there. You have Marquette, which is obviously the regular season champ, and UConn, which I think is the second best team right now and very close to the best team the way they're playing. And the other thing, guys, and maybe people have forgotten this, but, UConn is going to bring like 7,000 or 8,000 fans there. I mean, they're going to take over that building. So you don't want to deal with UConn if you can help it. So I think I like where Seton Hall and Villanova are in the bottom half of the bracket. I think that's the place to make something happen, to create a little chaos. And that's going to be the interesting part to me of this week in the Garden.
Now, in this particular case, looking at this, obviously looking at Seton Hall for a second, it's been a bit of a small challenge year for Shaheen Holloway, given the Cinderella season he had last year at St. Peter's. Do you think any of that with the season that they've had is going to affect the tournament itself? And where also do you see that team going in 2 to 3 years?
Well, for this year, I mean, the big issue they had was they had injuries, right? I mean, Seton Hall had a guy they were counting on to play power forward and center, Alexis Yatno, who could never wound up playing. Dre Davis missed, 6 total weeks? The sixth man with an ankle injury. Twice he was hurt. And, knee and ankle. And Kadari Richmond now being hurt with his back down the stretch. So, 2 other guys never were able to play. So they were shorthanded the entire season. So I think that got things off to a difficult start. And plus you had a whole new coaching staff a bunch of transfers, four transfers, five transfers, and some holdovers from Kevin Willard's regime, 4 holdovers. So it's a difficult stew to kind of make work, and it took time for it to come together, right? So
Yeah.
I think in talking to Shaheen Holloway earlier today, he feels like this is why the team could maybe be peaking late, because it took so much time. Like, remember in the old days, guys, when you had a transfer, they had to sit out a year. So like Quincy McKnight, for example, at Seton Hall, he had to sit out a year. So coming from Sacred Heart. So when he was eligible to play, he knew the system cold. He had been practicing with the team and he fit right in. Like, that's gone now. So like that transition has to take place on the fly. And sometimes, when you see how the sausage is made with that, it's not so pretty. So Seton Hall's gone through a little bit of that, and that's part of what I think has been the ups and downs of this year. But the foundation's kind of been laid. You asked me where this could go in the next couple of years. You've seen, I think, the foundation laid, the culture laid of a team that's going to defend, going to play hard, and the next step is, can they play consistently, and can they play unselfishly on offense? And maybe they need to add another piece or two. But it's very clear that Seton Hall is going to be a handful as far as effort, attitude, defense in the years to come.
Yeah, and with the free transfers and the name, image, and likeness payments now being on the table, you can both tear apart and rebuild a roster pretty quickly. It works both ways. It's almost like a revolving door. So, who do you think is a dark horse to win the Big East tournament, and who do you think actually would win?
Well, I like Villanova as a dark horse because the way they're playing so well. Notwithstanding a loss to UConn, they played really, really well. And so in the preseason, we all thought Villanova was going to be really good, even though acknowledging the coaching change was going to make a big difference. Of course, you lose a Hall of Fame coach. Jay Wright's probably worth 10 points a game, 5 with his coaching and 5 with the refs. Okay.
Yes.
Only man to ever have a technical rescinded in a Big East game.
Yep.
That's a fact.
I remember that.
I had to pick my jaw up off the floor after that. But anyway, but then, Villanova had all these major obstacles. You talk about injuries with Justin Moore and Cam Whitmore. Like, now it's coming together. I like the way they're playing. I like the star power they have. Justin Moore's played in so many big games. So I think Villanova could be a real sleeper here. And to me, I kind of foresee a Seton Hall Villanova semifinal. I think it's very possible they could meet for a third time.
That would be awesome.
And the 2 games they played, the first game was awfully ugly, but they were both really close. 2 4-point Villanova wins. They have a history of playing these great close games, especially in the Big East tournament. So I just have a feeling we might see that on Friday night. And guys, you've been there. There is no better stage. There's no better environment than the Friday of the Big East tournament, the doubleheader late night in Madison Square Garden in Manhattan, in the greatest city in the world. That's like the event. To me, it's better than the final. To me, in some ways, it's better than the NCAA tournament in some, East Jabib type place. This is like what it's about, in the big city. And so if that happens, it'll be a huge moment. And I think a really good for the Big East, too, to have 2 legacy programs duking it out there with a full Garden with their fans.
I admit that's always been a favorite quirk of mine since the Big East reboot 10 years ago. Is that as of now, it's always been what I call the OG Big East schools. The original ones have won all of the tournaments so far. We'll see if Marquette and Xavier, one of the Midwest schools, changes that this year. But every time. I mean, obviously Villanova's won half of those,
right?
But you had Seton Hall, you had Providence, you had Georgia, you had the Georgetown run out of nowhere, which turned out to do more long-term damage for them than good.
Right.
Because they locked Ewing into that ridiculous contract that now they're stuck with.
A big part of that, though, I think, is also like those are the schools that bring the fans there.
Yes,
like those fans, like Villanova fans, build this into their schedule. It's part of their life. Mm-hmm. Like they're there with 3,000 and 4,000 strong every year. This is what they do.
They have buses on campus around that time, and they encourage people to zip on up there. Right. It's a long trip because they don't provide hotels or anything for the
students. Yeah, but people get there. Hey, listen, Villanova alums can afford the hotels. Get out of here with that.
I'm a Villanova alum. I can't afford jack.
You will in a couple of years. Don't worry about it. Here's the thing. they Providence travel brings fans. Seton Hall fans are always show up. UConn's going to bring a ton of fans. Going to have the state of Connecticut's going to be there. So like that helps these programs, like the Midwestern programs, although they're great programs and they fill their buildings for their games, right? It's harder for them to travel. So Creighton, we'll see. Creighton, the first Big East tournament of the new, reconfigured league, it was Creighton and Providence in the final. And there was a lot of nerves about like, is there going to be any juice for this? And Creighton brought like 3,000 people. Remember that it was McDermott's son, Greg McDermott's son, Doug, who's probably the best player in the country. And they brought a ton of people and it kind of made it work. And the thing's been sold out ever since. So, but I do think the location of it and the fact that there's fans who've built this into their life for decades helps those local legacy programs in this spot.
Yeah. So with getting back to Seton Hall, did Shaheen give you an update on Kaderi Richmond? I'm sorry, I couldn't even get that whole question out without a straight face.
Ask me the nuclear codes instead, and maybe I'll get that to you. Who knows? I mean, the thing is, even if you get an update, sometimes you get an update and then it's not really the update. So we've done this.
Talk to Tony is the usual update.
Don't want to tip that hand at all.
So. Yeah, and I understand that. Listen, you're gonna. The one thing coach is gonna lie to you about injuries. Willard, Peichel, they all do it, and it's part of the deal. Like you just kind of after a while, you just kind of blow it off. So we'll see who's warming up, an hour before tip, and then we'll know what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, also with now we have Rutgers in the Big Ten, and they're trending down hard. They really haven't been the same since Mawad Mag got hurt about a month ago. And in what I think was a fitting metaphor for the latter part of their season, where a speaker caught fire in the rack and during the game against Northwestern yesterday, so they had to delay the game to put the fire out.
Yeah, there was smoke everywhere, billowing in the upper reaches of the rafters, and you could smell it. It smelled. It wasn't a barbecue smell either. It smelled like like something burning, like metal burning, wires burning, and so yeah, I guess it was. Rutgers is they do kind of seem to be out of gas. I think the minutes that the starters have taken on, there's not much depth there, and the minutes they've taken on since Mag got hurt, it's been tough for these guys, and they're pretty banged up. Caleb McConnell with his back, Paul Mulcahy with his shoulder. So it's unfortunate because, go back a month and Rutgers was really rolling and looking like a team that can maybe make a run at the second weekend in March. And things have kind of gone sideways, but that's why I just don't get into these predictive metrics and whatnot, because they don't account for the human aspect of the game and like the bends and turns in the road and the toll it can take on these guys' bodies sometimes. So yeah, it's been a tough break for Rutgers. They have to beat Michigan on Thursday in their Big Ten opener, an 8-9 game, and then they'll have a chance to get in the field. Michigan did beat them pretty soundly 2 weeks ago and seems to match up well against them. So Rutgers really has to sort of get a jump start here. And that's why I was advocating in my column for the freshman Derek Simpson to have a bigger role, because I think he's the only guy in the program right now with somewhat fresh legs. And that's really needed for them at this point.
You could almost say the same thing for Jaquan Sanders for Seton Hall. Since he hasn't really played much, but he had he had some brief flashes, but I guess the defense isn't what Coach Holloway wants it to be.
Right, and they don't need him quite as badly as Rutgers needs Simpson. Like Rutgers has basically six guys right now, and Seton Hall has 7 or 8. So, but yeah, fresh legs do matter this time of year. But Simpson is more farther along than Jaquan Sanders.
Yeah. Do you think that Rutgers might need to sweat through Selection Sunday if they lose to Michigan in their first game?
I think they're out. If they lose to Michigan, they're out. I don't think there'll be any sweating. I think they'll be out. So if they win and then they lose to Purdue, the next round, there might be sweating. Then you're kind of at the mercy of what goes on around the country.
Yeah, especially with the with that joke of an out-of-conference schedule that Rutgers plays, that might finally catch up to them this year.
It could, and that's an area where they got to improve. I know they did try to schedule Gonzaga this year. That fell through. Yeah, they tried to schedule a game with Gonzaga in Seattle. Seattle backed out. Gonzaga backed out late to play that game against Michigan State on the ship, on the aircraft carrier.
Oh, okay.
So they had something, and then that was basically a last minute rescheduled for a bigger payday or something, I guess.
Yeah, well, missed to play Michigan State on an aircraft carrier, is a pretty big.
It's an opportunity.
That's a big deal, big televised game, but that fell through, and so they do.
It's rough.
Rutgers does need to upgrade a little bit. I think next year they'll try to get maybe a neutral site game in New York, maybe one of those New York arenas, maybe not the Garden, but maybe the UBS or something. We'll see, but they do need to upgrade that a little bit for sure.
Yeah, and another interesting story from New Jersey hoops. Fairleigh Dickinson, after going 4-22 last year, I believe was their record. They brought in a new coach from a Division II school, which some people said might be a precursor to Fairleigh Dickinson dropping themselves to D2. And they've ended up in a weird situation where they haven't played the tournament final yet, but they've already gotten the automatic bid.
Yeah, so kudos to them because they're on a pretty tight budget over there, and they found a guy from the Division II ranks, Tobin Anderson, who's one heck of a coach. What a great job he's done. He brought his backcourt with him from St. Thomas Aquinas, 2 post-grads. They had one big together, and it just goes to show you. The basketball in Division II is very good. It's not that much different than the lower rungs of Division I. And the guys are smaller. That's about it. They're smaller. You don't have these big guys like Tyrese Samuel, Cliff Amori type guys are not in Division II. But the guards are good. They're just small. Like those guards on FDU are terrific, and they know how to play. They can score. They can pass. They handle the ball. It's on a string. And they knew Tobin's system. So it's a really good story, FDU's turnaround. I was there Saturday. It was an awesome environment. I mean, to see the Rothman Center rocking, with 1,500 people, a lot of students rushing the court afterwards. It's a big deal. That's like the March moment for these guys. And they're playing the tournament final, which is bizarre. It was a semifinal, but because Merrimack's ineligible as a transitional D1 program, FDU got the berth, the AQ by getting to the final. So good for them. They took advantage of the situation, and it's fun. This is what March is about, The improbable stories is what makes the sport great, and FDU was exactly that this week.
Nice.
Yep. So that's why Greg Sankey wants to blow it all to hell to expand it to 90 teams or more.
Yeah, that guy's a clown, and
too much.
They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna do that. What I think is gonna happen is they're probably gonna expand like piecemeal, but maybe like another 8, enlarge the first 4. But ideally, if they do that, they need to keep the integrity of the tournament by don't make the mid and low majors play in those early rounds.
Yes,
they should get it. They should get a pass into the main bracket. If you get your automatic bid, make some at-larges duke it out in those early rounds if you want to expand it. That's the kind of the fight that's going on internally with college basketball right now, with all the non-power conferences in the discussion of expansion. So Sankey's a clown. He's stick to football, dude. But probably it's inevitable because the TV partner pulls a lot of strings here, CBS. But hopefully it's done piecemeal and not some giant 30-plus team expansion. And then you're making the St. Peter's of the world go an extra round and lessening the chances that you'll have these great Cinderella runs. So fingers crossed
on the accomplishment of getting there.
It's like you might as well just merge in the NIT tournament.
Well, right, and imagine like St. John's playing in the NCAA tournament this year. Like they'd be on the bubble right now. So that's kind of what you're dealing with. So hopefully cooler heads prevail on that front.
Yeah,
it's like you should.
They want to make it just like the
wild card.
What's that called?
Kind of like what they do with the baseball wild card. It's
more games equals better ratings across the board.
And not only that, keep the bigger like the bigger conference teams being in those play-in games.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just a thought that I heard floating around from some people on the inside.
Yeah, it's just like those it'd be the equivalent of those bowl games, like the Tire Bowl, the Mac and Cheese Bowl, whatever, featuring a 6-6 and 5-7 team.
Who watches that stuff? What zombies watch that crap?
I have no idea, but apparently it's
find
easy
out what new weird cockeyed bowl game we have this year.
Yeah,
it feels like those types of games are what you would find at sports bars, like only at sports bars.
It's like just for ESPN
background noise, background things for people too drunk to care to watch.
On ESPN, the Ocho.
No, I would actually watch the Ocho with like dodgeball.
The Ocho is good, man. It's got watered down over the years, but yeah, you get.
Forget about this. Forget about college football. Back to the hoops.
Yeah. Anyway,
You got one more big thing this weekend in Jersey, and that's the Ivy League tournament. Jadwin Gym, historic place. Princeton's hosting. They're the 2 seed. They've had some epic games against Yale. If they meet in the final Sunday, noon on Selection Sunday, it'll be a great way to roll into the big dance with that game. So I plan on being there. And I'll tell you, Princeton can shoot the rock. After a season of watching Seton Hall and Rutgers throw up bricks, it's like watching another sport when you see Princeton play. They're really entertaining, guys. You should try to, if they get into that Ivy final or if they get into the NCAA tournament, you should check them out. It's fun to watch. They have four guys who can shoot the ball and a big man who passes like a point guard. It's really fantastic. So keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you heard it here first. Shooting for a Seton Hall Villanova semi Friday night. I can't wait. This is my first year covering the Big East tournament from the Garden as press. So I'm excited, but also nervous since it's my first time there. So this whole week will be a learning experience for me.
It's your first time. They'll be gentle. Don't worry. But yeah, that'll make it fun for the two of you guys if you want to make that interesting.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the best time of the year and it's the best event going. So enjoy every second of it.
Of course,
appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much, Jerry, for your time. I know you had to take off, so it's been a pleasure. I'll catch you Wednesday at the Garden.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Man. Cheers. So, there we go.
Cool.
All right. So that was Mr. Jerry Carino from the Asbury Park Press talking basketball. Credit in this case straight up front to Mr. JD Walker for pulling that one off. Kudos there. Probably can get rid of that though because now he's not there.
Yeah.
Kyle, how the hell are you? I know you kind of came in on that.
I didn't. I thought we were starting at the usual 6:30. I didn't realize we were starting so early.
Jerry was on a time crunch, so we got
understandable.
Got started.
I would have popped on early if I knew you guys were getting going. I would have popped on early.
Yeah. No, it's okay. That's why I gave you a couple of minutes just to kind of get a feel before I let you in.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
but that's awesome. And if we need more guests, I may be able to send a few flyers out depending on what we're looking for.
We'll discuss that off air.
Oh, of course.
Because there's a couple things that I want to run with, especially as we're growing and expanding our own stuff. Kyle, I haven't even told you half the stuff at this point.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. Cool. So, but we are going to be talking about something, Kyle, that you have specific interest in, I believe, sir. Isn't that right?
That is correct. The World Baseball Classic is starting this week.
So we're going to
start this week.
I'm going to switch that over to that. There we go.
Yeah, no, it's I've been excited for this for a while now. Like I love the World Baseball Classic. like when it was first conceived, it's an international tournament of my favorite sport, and we actually have national teams, and it's something more than what the Olympics was for baseball, where the Olympics always happened during the middle of the season, so you got zero major league players involved in it. It was all minor league and college players, which while the games were still great, it wasn't a good representation of the amount of talent that the majors have with players from the US and around the world. And this is probably the best idea that baseball has come up with in the past half century.
Yes, I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah, so as we can see, it's basically a mix of four pools, and I believe the top 2 teams from each make it into the quarterfinals. So
it's kind of like a mini World Cup.
Yeah, kind of. Except it's just rather than saying like a group stage of 11 billion teams, you only get a group stage of around 20, which is fine. It's fine given how the sport isn't as as like, well, it's worldly known. It's just not worldly played as, say, like soccer. So, but still, it is an official official baseball tournament for the world, and I am all for it. So, looking at some of the pools here, we got some pretty interesting matchups coming up from in the first round. Pool A starts on Tuesday, which I believe. Let me see who is playing on Tuesday.
Have they picked those qualifier teams yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not. I would hope so. Yes. Yeah. Looking at it, they have. Let me see. Let me see just the comparison, because I was going to say we have an updated.
Tuesday we've only got the one. We got Cuba versus the Netherlands.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, no, I'm looking at this. Yeah, like Pool A has Panama. Pool B has Czech Republic. C has Great Britain, and D has Nicaragua. So yeah, no, they got a lot of great teams, a lot of awesome play-ins. So now I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, like looking at the updated site on the World Baseball Classic on MLB. But yeah, in Pool A, Cuba. This is also the first time that Cuba has allowed expatriates back on the team. So like all those Cuban players that escaped Cuba to play in the U.S., they allowed a bunch of them back on the team. Like, I'm looking at the roster. Luis Robert and Yoan Moncada are both playing on the Cuban squad this year.
Yasiel Puig, is he still playing, or?
He's not on the roster. Like, I'm looking at the roster, and no, Puig is not on the roster. Neither is Chapman. But honestly, I think
no
that's
Chapman either. Okay.
Yeah, there's probably something behind. Like, it really is just a matter of like who's willing to play back on the team.
They're also on the older side as far as players go.
That too.
So that's probably
yes, and there have been a lot of players that have had some difficulty either staying on the rosters or getting insurance or whatnot that have prevented them from being on their respective teams. So
even visa issues, depending.
Yeah. So, but Pool A, like this is actually a stronger group than I think people realize. Cuba, the Netherlands has always put up a good team. So is Taipei, and Panama has always been a surprisingly good team. And I'm looking at the roster for Italy right now. That's actually not a bad squad either.
Isn't Mike Piazza coaching that Italy?
Yes, he is. Yeah, Mike Piazza is. Yeah, Mike Piazza is the coach.
After he retired from MLB, he immediately did the World Baseball Classic, playing for Team Italy back then.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. He was a former player. I think I don't think he played. I think he was actually one of the coaches in the previous WBC.
Yeah. I think he may have played in the first one in 2006.
Yeah. He played. No, he played in the first two. Yeah, he played like the first one happened at the end of his career. I think the second one he played, but was mainly like a bench coach. Third one was he was a bench coach, and this one he's now the manager. So
just kind of work your way up there, you know.
Pretty much. No, and that's awesome. No, good for Piazza. But yeah, so Pool A is going to be a pretty strong, pretty tough, pretty good start. Pool B has your perennial contender in Japan, but Korea. You have Japan and Korea, who have very solid, established professional systems, and Australia, China, and Czech Republic. Those three teams. Well, I don't think any of them are going to make it out of Pool B when compared to Japan and Korea. They could certainly pull off an upset. Australia has always pulled some interesting major leaguers each year. So let's see. Who do they got?
Well, Dave Nelson is the manager. Their pitching coach or bullpen coach is Graham Lloyd, who had a long career in baseball. Won a couple World Series with the Yankees. Also played with Nelson back in the early 90s.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look at the roster. All their major league players are all essentially minor leaguers. Like all the players in major league systems are minor leaguers, but they actually also have a professional baseball circuit going on. So they got a lot of hometown talent
Now, in your case, here's just my question for you in this case. Obviously, they're going to be playing in Japan for this, which is going to give a massive, massive home field advantage
Oh,
because
absolutely.
the Japanese fan base is obscene.
They're
I mean,
amazing.
for smaller, teams like Australia, China, and Czech Republic, getting past this round, I think in a lot of ways would be constituting a win for that franchise and that country as well.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
it'll be huge. But
yeah,
the two front runners is Japan and Korea. So
yeah.
both
But
of them,
again, like you said, an upset can happen. You don't,
an upset could happen,
and
and look toward.
it's a short
And
series, so
yes,
one starting pitcher that gets blown out in the second inning can literally change the entire dynamic of the entire bracket.
Yeah. Granted, they have like Japan also. Yeah, Japan has Yu Darvish, Shohei Ohtani, Yoshida from the Red Sox, and who's now on the Red Sox, and Lars Nootbaar from the St. Louis Cardinals. His mother on his mother's side, kind of like how they do it, where they allow major leaguers to join whichever national team, as long as they have like a parent who's from there, and his mom's from Japan.
That's how Piazza ended up with the Italian team.
Yep, not absolutely.
Rob Refsnyder with Korea that way, I think, isn't he?
And no, not Refsnyder, Tommy Edman.
Okay.
And I guess Didi is from Curacao, which I think is a Dutch colony.
Yep.
So he's playing for the Netherlands.
Yep, and that's why Didi Gregorius is on the Netherlands. And then you got Sir Didi. Then Pool C, you have like U.S., Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. Canada has always put up a good team. I don't think I've ever seen Great Britain play, but I believe their entire roster are just essentially a bunch of U.S. players.
They have a UK baseball league over there, and there's not a whole lot of players that actually have MLB experience.
No, looking at the roster, it is either people who aren't affiliated to any major or minor league team or any professional league aside from like maybe college. Well, even then, that's not even a professional league. That's just But it's let me just see if there's any interesting names on here. Oh, we got a couple. We got a player from the New Jersey Jackals, Justin Wiley.
Okay.
Yeah, Justin Wiley from the New Jersey Jackals.
Unaffiliated minor league.
Because of the fact it's Great Britain and not United Kingdom, we're the UK as across the board.
Yes.
They would have a greater range that maybe they can. Maybe WBC would allow that.
I think no. I think it was allowed, but I don't think there were any other teams that were that made it far enough. I'm not sure. I don't think Scotland had the only one of the United Kingdom that probably could reasonably field a team would be Scotland. But
so is Scotland not included in the Great Britain team? I keep forgetting, I keep forgetting what constitutes as Great Britain versus what is the United Kingdom. I know Great Britain doesn't include Northern Ireland, but I forget.
Actually,
Ireland and England itself, but not anything, and not any of the countries that are separated by water. So not Wales and not Scotland in this case. That's all UK.
Wales isn't separated by water either. It's an interesting thing. It's like UK is basically Great Britain plus I think Northern Ireland.
All right.
So and I don't think that there's a Northern Ireland baseball team anywhere. But the only person who's actually on a major league team would be Ian Jabout or Jabout. I can't pronounce his name, but Ian Jabout on the Cincinnati Reds. He's the only one who's on a major league roster.
There is an Irish baseball league.
There is. Oh, even
25
better.
25 years now, there's been an Irish baseball league.
Nice.
You got the North Stars, the Bucks, the Comets, the Cosmos, the Hurricanes, the Spartans, the baseball, and the Giants, North Stars, Hurricanes, Spartans. So anyway,
the baseball team.
Yeah, they got 12 teams in this league.
The Ireland baseballs sounds like a softball. Sounds like a beer league softball team.
Kind of does.
It's probably not much. Probably not too far from what it actually is.
Yeah. And then we have Pool D. That is what would be in World Cup terms the group of death. Because between Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Nicaragua, like all of them have major league players on their roster.
So does Israel, though, too.
Yeah, no. Israel has a lot of Israel has a lot of major league players as well. Let's see, like just looking at the
Pretty much
list here.
any Jewish player
You got
in Major League
Jake, you
Baseball.
got Richard Blyer, you got let's see, who else we got? That's Philly. Yeah, there is Garrett Stubbs, Jock Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Peterson is probably their biggest name player on their team. But yeah, no, they have a bunch of major league players, a lot of minor league players, and a couple of the independent leagues like Southern Maryland Blue Crabs, Melbourne Tri-City Valley Cats. I like that team name. That
is really cool.
Awesome.
Valley Cats.
And they have a couple Australian league players too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So
that blue crab's mascot is some nightmare fuel.
they got the Alex Katz from Staten Island Ferry Hawks. So now you got a lot of major league players on the Israel team. So no, this one Dominican Republic is definitely the strongest, because looking at that roster is just scary. Like I think there was a comparison that ESPN did a week or so ago, where they basically ranked all the basically like power ranked all the teams and how they would stack up against, say, like a major league team.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. and Dominican Republic were ranked as like 10.4 were like 10.4 and 10.3 respectively, when the nearest other team, which was Japan, was ranked at like 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like
this team is stacked. Wow.
Oh no, Dominican Republic is scary. That they are one of the easy front runners. Because
Gary Sanchez is playing on the team.
Yeah.
Robbie Cano.
Well, no, I honestly hope Gary Sanchez plays, because that would be a because compared to Francisco Mejia, I would rather the U.S. face Gary Sanchez behind the plate.
Yeah,
but I mean, you got Manny on there, Rafael Devers, Teoscar Hernandez, Juan Soto. I mean, like I said, Nelson Cruz,
it's scary. Like trying to do a 1 through 9 roster of the Dominican team, that's like something out of fantasy baseball. Like you would put that on your MLB The Show team with all like your little card, with all like the card system that they have. Now, Dominican Republic and the U.S. are both scary. So no, those two are the easy front runners. But being that it's baseball and it's all and once you get out of the group stage, it's single elimination. And even in the group stage, it's like you lose one game, you're kind of at risk, because out of let's see, so you got 5 teams in each pool over the course of 8. So it's like over 5 days you're playing at like 3-4 games. So, which I think that every team plays each other in the group stage.
It's a 4-game round robin in their group.
Yeah, 4-game round robin. So, and the top 2, top 2 advance, and then you get the quarterfinals, which is single elimination. So
that's what I'm saying. Anything can happen if one pitcher has a bad start. A bad start, early injury. You could. It changes the entire dynamic of the entire pool.
No, absolutely. And it's like looking at the roster, like a lot of those teams, they're like they have 1 or 2 legit starting pitchers for each of those teams. After that, it's like a bunch of relievers. So they're basically going to be playing Tampa Bay baseball, where they maybe have like an opener and then do a bunch of and basically just have reliever games.
Nobody's doing the opener anymore, are they?
Tampa Bay I know does.
Well,
I think a few teams do it usually when if they have enough starters. Like if there's enough starters hurt. I mean, heck, we saw in the playoffs this year, when Thor was pitching for the Phillies, he was basically an opener, pitching for 3 innings.
And I don't mind I think the opener is a decent idea, because it's like you give the starter a little, like however time they need to warm up until they're ready, and then sometimes it might backfire in that they'll give up 1 billion runs before their technically starter comes in, but for the most part, it's just like using a long reliever.
And in this case, basically, you're bypassing the prime 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 hitters.
Yeah,
And then getting
absolutely.
your starter to start out 5, 6, 7, and in the process, also using the reliever to see how the Aaron Judge type is doing that day from at least the one at bat before you send in your regular starter.
Yeah, there is that, but it's also as you mentioned, you missed the 1, 2, like you missed the 1 through 4. Usually miss the 1 through 4 starters in those you do in those first 2 innings.
Also,
But
in a short event like this, you don't really need very many starters.
And not only that, say for like the U.S. team, you might actually want to do something like that to avoid the players getting hurt. Because this is essentially their spring training, so they would so a lot of these players that play in the majors, they would be playing as if they were they treat this kind of as like a intense spring training game, which that's the time where a lot of these pitchers work out the kinks inside either their delivery, in their pitches, etc. Which is why like a lot of the players in like the WBC, like you saw them arrive at spring training really, really early to knock out as much as they could, and then they went off to wherever they need to go for spring training, which conveniently enough is in Florida.
The problem with this, though, is the fact that because it is still exhibition, and spring training in a matter of speak, that they may not necessarily give 100% here. They'll give 80, but they got to protect themselves for that 6-month, payday.
Oh, absolutely.
On regular season.
Oh, and which is why a lot of those major league teams are stopping some players from being able to play.
Sure.
Like especially, you go for it.
I was just going to say, looking at this roster, there's a lot of older players on here where they're not. I don't think like is Adam Wainwright even playing anymore? I think
yes,
he's retired,
This is his last season.
Okay, because but there's a lot of players on here that are there's some older players on here where they're not really big contributors anymore on their teams that I'm seeing here.
Yeah,
I'm looking at the roster. It's like they would have had Clayton Kershaw, who would have been a fantastic addition, but he couldn't get the insurance because of his age and his contract. Because the insurance wouldn't let him, which is unfortunate. And of course, if his team, while they may have given him the green light to go, I doubt they would be lifting too many fingers to help rectify the situation. Like, you can't get insurance. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh,
NBA players.
No.
What a shame that is.
Yes.
That's kind of how NBA teams treat the Olympics too, for the same reason.
Yeah. Yep.
Where they don't say no, you can't go since it's in the off season, but they're not. But they don't exactly encourage it either, or discourage it.
Yeah. Yep. And it's unfortunate because it's like while the lineup is really solid, the weakness of the U.S. is their pitching, because losing out on Kershaw is a big hit, and they also don't have their star that they had last year, or the last time that they went through. It's what's his name? Stroman.
Yeah,
Marcus Stroman. He's playing in the WBC, but for a different team. Is he? Which team is he playing for? Stroman. STRW.
Yeah, looking at the pitchers on this U.S. roster, there's aside from Wainwright, are there any other starters on here?
What's that?
Kyle Freeman. No, Stroman is playing for Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, Stroman is playing for Puerto Rico, but in terms of the United States, they have starters. They have Wainwright, they have Lance Lynn, they have Freeland. They also Graveman is a reliever, I believe, right? Yeah. They also have Miles Mikolas. So they have a decent set of starters, but if you're ranking these are the A starters. These are like the A-ranked starters of the majors. None of these guys would be considered that. They're definitely solid, like 2 to 4 lineup or 2 to 4 rotation guys, but they don't have the only one who can be arguably an ace would be either Wainwright or Mikolas.
Now,
how well he played last year.
If you look at Pool C in this case, you got Mexico, you got Colombia, and even to a degree Canada. The odds of the U.S. getting, it's not a lock for them to actually be able to move on past that first round.
The U.S. is definitely the front runner for Group C, but the second spot is certainly up in the air. I think like right now the money is on either Mexico or Canada, given how many major leaguers they have on their roster. But looking at this list, you definitely can't count out Colombia because they got a bunch of major
That's what
leaguers
I'm
too.
saying. It's not
Colombia is usually a hotbed for major league talent too.
It's
Yeah,
not like a complete lock the U.S. is going to move on.
Yeah, no, they're definitely an underrated team, but in comparison to the other teams, US is definitely a tier above the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But that second spot can be pretty much anyone's game, and who knows, maybe even Great Britain might get a fire under their butts and steal it and steal it from them, because it's a lot of minor league players, and a lot of those players use this as say like maybe as like a launching point to get themselves noticed.
This is national television.
Absolutely. This is their chance to be on national television in a big event. So they're going to try to play out of their minds, because it could be the difference between, okay, am I going to be a career minor leaguer, or if I play really, really well in this, I can use that to get myself a major league contract, or to make myself look really good for either scouts or for even your own organization, like with all the minor league players, they could use this and basically give themselves more of a resume. Like, they played in a high pressure environment on a national stage, and which means that they can use that to push themselves above, say, like any other players on their minor league team that are also gunning for a major league spot.
And not just limited to the U.S. in this case here. The world is watching. So you might land that contract in Korea or Japan.
Absolutely.
Something to keep the paychecks rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is huge for a lot of players. And I hope it's going to be a really good WBC.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Been 6 years since the last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. It's I believe, wasn't it like it was like it was every 4 years, and then COVID hit, and then they postponed it.
Yeah.
This was supposed to happen in either 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, it was 2017 was the last one.
Yeah, so 2021. And then both the lockout happened and COVID was still going on strong. So they actually postponed it like back in 2020. Like back in 2020, they said, okay, yeah, no, we're not having this in 2021. We'll see. We'll basically reassess in 2021 and 2, and then they eventually decide, okay, things are calming down a little bit. Lockout's done. We're having this in 2023.
So are they going to do this again in 2 years, or is it now the 4-year cycle? Like, we'll do this again.
I am not entirely sure, but it could. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again in 2 years. Though I think that will probably cause some brushback from the major league owners, and they would probably say, "No, we're going to push it to. We're going to keep it every 4 years. We're just going to make this now the 4 years."
I think they may split the difference and make it 3.
Would be nice, and then you have
that.
The next
I don't think
3 years,
will happen because that's when the next CBA runs out.
That's a good point.
So there'll be another lockout.
So yeah, it's either gonna as John said, it's either gonna be either in 2 years before they have to renegotiate, or in legit 4 years after the renegotiation and incoming disaster of that renegotiation is in fully
that's going to be
full,
nuclear
is
winter.
in full swing. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a headache and a nightmare, especially given how Manfred is an idiot. But yeah, so
conversations we've had before, and no doubt we'll have again.
Something to look forward to going in the future. But yeah. So overall prediction, Pool A, I think Pool A is going to be Netherlands and either Cuba or Italy. Those are my two predictions for Pool A. Pool B, Japan and Korea. Pool C, USA and I'm gonna go with Canada.
Okay.
And Pool D, I'm gonna do Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico.
All right. Should we? JD, you want to do it too? Because I'll give mine. But we can do the same thing we did with the NFL playoffs.
Yeah, I'll do. Let's see. Pool A. I'll go with Cuba and Italy. Japan and Korea in Pool B. I'll say USA and Colombia, just to change it up for Pool C, and Dominican Republic, and I'll go with Venezuela. Having an upset in Pool D.
Now,
also, if anyone's watching, feel free to throw your suggestions in too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Actually, I take that back. Dominican Republic and Israel in Pool D.
Now, in this case, are you picking that as first place and second place, or just across, or just in general?
I'm just doing across the board.
Just top two.
It's group play.
Okay. But I'm saying basically top two in this case. So if you pick Japan, Korea, first place, second place, kind of thing.
If you want, I'll say Japan first, Korea second.
Okay.
So Pool A, Netherlands first, Cuba second. Pool B, Japan first, Korea second. C, U.S. followed by Canada. Pool D, Dominican Republic followed by Puerto Rico.
Okay. And for me, basically first and second place all the way through. Pool A, I'm going to say Cuba and Netherlands in that order. Pool B, Japan, Korea. Nobody's giving any love whatsoever to Australia, China, or the Czech Republic there.
If we're putting our money on it, we're going with the more sure things rather than the risky option. If I was going to take a risk, I would say either Australia. I would probably say Australia, maybe Czech Republic.
Well, I'm going to have some fun with Pool C here when you're ready.
Go for it.
Colombia and U.S. U.S. is not going to clinch. And then for Pool D, DR and PR.
Okay.
So Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico in that order. So in this case, just for simple bragging rights on here, hopefully I will be more organized and structured this time around than I was during the NFL playoffs when you guys kept correcting the fact I kept getting the numbers wrong. Apologies for that.
I think I came in second in that.
What's that?
I think I was either second or third out of our big group.
I was in the lower end.
I did not win it. I know that.
Yeah. No, I think Yership won that thing because he just owned everybody.
Or I thought it was Obi.
It might have been.
Yeah, I think Obi won that.
Yeah, I came in. I think I went 8-4 in that entire playoffs.
In that case, who do you think is going to be the big upset candidate? Like who? Like out of the ones that we did not pick, who do you think has the best chance of surprising everyone and pulling off a run
in the group play?
In either in group play.
Australia, Samari.
Okay.
I would say not the prettiest pick, but an intriguing one in my head.
I'll go with Panama in Pool A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Pool A. Taipei might actually surprise people too, because I was looking at that roster. They have a very well-established baseball league there, and I think in the last one they didn't make it into the out of the group stage, but they came very close. Or I could be mixing them up with different.
Changing my Pool B upset to China.
Okay.
Never underestimate the pool of talent that they've got when you have 1 billion people in your country.
That is true, and they do have a couple major leaguers.
Yes.
They do have a bunch of minor leaguers, a couple major leaguers too. Every single one of these teams has at least one major leaguer. But yeah, no, it's in terms of upset candidate, out of the ones I did not pick, probably Colombia.
Yeah,
but overall, Pool A, I'd say Taipei. Pool B, Australia. Pool C, Colombia, and Pool D, Israel.
Let's see. What did I have in my case? Chinese Taipei, China. Just why not? Canada is going to be my C surprise pick, and then D, Venezuela. I think has to be.
Okay. We got it's overall. I think we're going to have some. I think there's going to be some really, really good matches, especially with involving the Japan team, just from the fan base. Same thing with the Dominican Republic, just because of the fan base.
Oh boy, yeah.
Those two have absurd celebratory fan bases.
Oh yeah, it's like watching college basketball or like soccer over there.
Wasn't there a whole big thing? I forget which WBC it was, where there was like how the Angels had the rally monkey when they won the World Series, where there was like a magic plátano, when they just had this giant banana that was and everybody got
giant
into
plantain or something like that.
Yeah, it was a plantain banana something, and just everybody
giant some kind of a fruit that has a euphemism attached to it.
Right. Yeah. The players and the fans all were going nuts with plátanos.
Let's see. There's also, I think there was also one thing that showed all the uniforms too. Like some of the uniform designs are actually kind of interesting too. Like I was looking at UniWatch the other day, and it's like I love like interesting uniform designs. Like out of the list that they have, Italy has a really good one, and so does Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, if you ever want to look at some of the team uniform designs, definitely check those out.
Yeah. Well, here's something I just pulled from a thumbnail, so you got a couple of ideas here anyway. So.
Those are I think those are concepts, not the.
Oh, is that the actual thing?
Nah. It's like I'm actually on the on their website.
Oh wait, here we go. Yeah.
The concepts are great. Like I love like
2017. God, I can't find the name. Screw it, I'm done.
we could discuss this next time.
Yes. So
we'll come back next week with our favorite uniform designs.
Have that instead.
Perfect. Perfect. Lakewood.
That's the blue crab. That's the Southern Maryland blue crab.
Southern Maryland blue crab.
Nightmare fuel.
I almost mixed it up with the Lakewood blue claws.
Yeah, we got to talk.
The Jersey Shore blue claws. They've rebranded as now.
They don't want to be associated with Lakewood.
No, because you want to be associated with Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey. Yeah, the Jersey Shore blue claws.
Yes, New Jersey. We're better than you think we are. Honest. So figure we got a couple minutes left. Talk a little bit of NFL right now. Big news came out that Derek Carr is heading south. He is saying sorry to the Jets, and he's getting the Saints. Decent deal there. Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
sorry, and he wipes away with his tears with
exactly.
He dabs his
I was going to say also at the same time, Geno Smith has a 3-year, I believe, $102 million deal. He's just signed with the Seahawks to stay up there. So
good for him.
That's a big chunk of change for 1 year. That's scary to me.
I mean, I get it. Mainly because Geno fits Pete Carroll's system. So I understand wanting to. I don't know what the guarantees and all are. I'd imagine it's front loaded, so they could probably bail after two pretty easily if it goes south that quickly. But 3 years for Geno, although that definitely raises the price for some of the other mid-tier ones. Like we were talking in our group chat before about how maybe the Jets can get Garoppolo for 15 to 20 now that the ship has sailed on Carr. Yeah, I think we're looking at 20. We're definitely looking at 20 now. For 2025, probably more now. No way on this earth that Daniel Jones is worth the $45 million he's asking for. If Carr's getting $37.5 million a year,
I just did a write up on that. Yeah, Patrick. He's asking for, and you can ask for anything you want, but if he gets his $45 million a year contract, that puts him on par with Patrick Mahomes, right at the same amount, because Patrick's getting 45, which sadly enough is only like the 5th highest payroll in the NFL for quarterbacks last year.
I got to hint at the Chiefs. When they gave Mahomes that long-term extension, the money seemed crazy at the time, but for now they have him locked up at a discount.
For a decade, they've got him. Yeah,
right. Like I thought committing to a quarter at the time. I thought that committing to a quarterback for a decade was insane, but it's already paying off for them. I mean, obviously they have a second Super Bowl, but now they have arguably the best quarterback in the league for way below market rate. That's great for them.
And they don't.
And the Jets are going to go out and pay somebody. I'm upset about losing Carr because I thought that was a no-brainer that the Jets just screwed the pooch on like the Jets normally do. As I've been saying for months, Woody always goes rogue.
They probably didn't really make too much of an offer for him. It's like they probably threw a token offer at him just to see if he was interested, and they probably didn't take it seriously because for some reason they still seem to have their mind set on old Zachy boy.
I don't think it's even. I don't think it's that. I think that I think that Woody is looking at Rodgers, which I've gone on long rants on the show before about how I think that is
You
an
and Brandon
absolutely
are
terrible idea.
Can't wait for Aaron Rodgers to have some fun with the New York sports media.
That's why I don't even understand why Rodgers would even want to come to the Jets.
You would think that they would have learned from Brett Favre.
Right. That's
nope.
Yeah, I mean, he spent his entire career trying to get out of the shadow of Brett Favre. Does he really want to do literally the same thing that Favre did? It doesn't make sense to me.
Or he's very simply using it as a bargaining tool to get a contract with a different team, a better team.
Carolina, easier division to play in. He doesn't have to deal with Josh Allen. It's honestly, if Rodgers doesn't stay in Green Bay, Carolina is the best fit.
He'll go from Green Bay to Tampa Bay.
That there's bounce between bays there, but
Tampa doesn't have a cap space. Tampa's cap is absolutely full bar now because now they absorb the entire Brady contract.
Well, it's funny because
actually Brady retired. Doesn't that like nullify it?
They're still on the hook for a percentage of the dead cap hit. I don't know the numbers, but they basically what the hit that would have been spread out over several years. I think it now all hits this year. I don't recall. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I remember reading it. And just what it comes down to is that Tampa has no cap space.
I was gonna say it's like I thought if a player like straight up retired, that like wipes a bit off of it.
I think that if they sign the contract over a certain age and wherever that is, Brady obviously was past it. I think that there's some I know. I don't remember the differences in rules.
Make sense.
Yeah, because I know the NHL has over 35 contracts, and they're subject to different cap rules. The NBA has certain ones where they can only sign for I think 2 or 3 years at a time. That's why LeBron only signed a 2-year extension with the Lakers. There is something similar in the NFL, I think, regarding cap hits, but I don't recall the rules off the top of my head.
Yeah, right now. Go ahead.
Unless the contract is they have a bunch of money that's deferred,
which I think they did was because that was the only way that Tampa could fit Brady under their cap the past few years.
In that case, yeah, I could definitely. In that case, I think that guy I could see that hitting their cap. But
yeah,
okay.
But yeah, if you look at it right down at the bottom here, the Bucks have negative $57 million going into next year, so they're going to have to just dump people, players left and right.
They have no choice but to go with Blaine Gabbert now.
They're going to blow up the team. But you know what, though? Tampa is still happy. They are still going to revere Tom Brady and what they gave him that 1 year.
Yeah, he came in. He came in and turned them into a playoff team.
Yes,
they sold their souls for the Super Bowl and they got it. And the Rams did the same thing. So that's why they have no first round picks for the next 10 years or something crazy.
But in this case right here, this one is a nice little number right there. Because
not if Jones takes it all up by himself.
The fact the Giants basically all that stuff went off. Galladay's out. That team has $46 million available in cap space, which gives Sheen a lot of flexibility going into the season. I don't know, $45 million. I can see them maybe. Here's the thing: I can see them maybe franchise tagging Jones for 32. And then giving him the option to basically start looking somewhere else. 32.7, I think was the actual number. But I can see that. But 45, dude.
They can get it for the 32. Well, also, here's the thing about the non-exclusive franchise tag at the 32 million is that Jones can keep negotiating with other teams, but I don't think there's actually been a single time that a team has signed somebody else's non-exclusive franchise tag player because they'll need to give if the Giants tag Jones at that 32 million and then he signs a contract with another team, that team that signs him would then have to give the Giants 2 first-round picks. No team will do that. So tag him at the lower number. You don't need to worry about somebody else poaching him. And if somebody else wants to do that and give up the 2 first-round picks to do it, good luck. Hey, good luck to them. I don't think that's ever actually happened in NFL history since they've been using the franchise tag system.
And of course, if the Giants opt to go that direction, Saquon Barkley suddenly becomes an issue there too, because you could.
No, he's not. NFL running backs are easily replaceable. Draft one in the 3rd round, pay him peanuts, and stick him behind. And Barkley is paying a running back big money in the modern NFL never goes well. Look at the Cowboys and what they're dealing with Zeke. Look at what happened with Todd Gurley. Just don't pay running backs. And look at the Jets of Le'Veon Bell. That's what's going to happen now. Is that Saquon is going to be the next Le'Veon Bell, where some team is going to overpay for him, give him a bunch of money, and he'll probably break down in 2 years. That's just what happens with running backs in the NFL. So it's a bad investment.
Especially with the
if they can only pick one, it's way easier to replace Barkley than it is to replace Jones from the Giants' standpoint.
They can definitely. It's like using their draft pick. They can snag what looks to be a star running back. Absolutely, and that's honestly what they're probably going to do in the draft this year.
This might have been up there for a while.
Okay.
I just
Next WBC will be in 2026. Okay. Okay. No, cool.
Yes.
Probably not if there's a lockout, but we shall see.
One day at a time.
Honestly, if there's a lockout, the WBC is different. It's like that. Like that's a little different.
So I don't know if that's covered under CBA negotiations.
So even if the WBC would probably would still happen, lockout or not, it just depends on which players will be going.
Right.
Yes.
That year is also going to be World WBC and also World Cup at the same time.
Can't wait. It's going to be nice. It's going to be a fun sports year.
Yes. So, all right, gentlemen. Anything else?
No, that's it. I'm going to the Garden Wednesday. I still can't believe this is happening.
Also, aside from that, I believe that in the 80s, during like the big run of the Big East, a player got ejected from a Big East game, and the refs conveniently forgot about it because the guy was still playing even after he got rejected or ejected. So 80s Big East was a jungle, and it was hilariously fun. Oh, Requiem. I highly recommend watching Requiem of the Big East, one of the ESPN 30 for 30s.
Yeah, Dana O'Neill's book about the Big East is fantastic as well.
Villanova in 1985.
66, and 2016 and 2018.
85. 85, 16, and 18. It was it put Rolly Massimino on the map in 85.
My neighbor went to college there. He was on the coaching staff.
Nice.
Way back in the day. So that's why I remember 1985 especially.
That's when I was born. Year I was born.
Damn kid. All right. So I think we're good at this point. Thank you, JD. Appreciate you basically getting Jerry Carino in there. That was awesome. Kyle, thank you for coming on. I appreciate that. One last thing. I'll throw this one quick comment in here. NTV is the second best league in the world. Top players, MVP or MVP, are major league caliber and can compete with anyone in the world. So
which one is MVP?
Japan?
Nippon.
Japan.
Nippon. It's basic. Japan's major leagues is like AAA plus.
Yes.
I wouldn't put them at the level of major MLB, but they certainly have MLB talent. They do have individual stars, absolutely.
And pitching, they're actually my pick to win this whole thing.
Their pitchers are pitchers are fantastic. They have an amazing fan base that will travel anywhere for them. And I'm looking forward to. And Ohtani bashed 2 home runs on 2 swings in the exhibition game the other day.
And one thing to add in here too, they have a greater degree of patriotism than some of the other countries do, because it is an honor. It is
absolutely
to play for the national team. So they're going to play a little bit harder and less about the season necessarily.
It's like Brazil and Argentina with soccer.
Yeah,
and the fans clean the stadium after the game.
They do.
They do. I love it.
They raise the
beautiful.
children from like age 5, to clean up your auditorium after lunch.
Oh no, it's like it's fantastic. My ex's family were big into the Giants.
Yomiuri.
Yeah. So she was whenever she spoke with her family, I always overheard something mentioning in regards to them from her father. So no, it was cool. But
well, like I said, that thing's getting underway very, very soon. We're going to check it out. Keep you posted. Let know what happens.
Tuesday it starts, and the first and the U.S. I believe plays on their first game is on the 11th.
Yes, so they got a little bit of a wait, but
yes, it's Group A, B, C, D. Yep.
And the Big East tournament starts 3:00 on Wednesday with the first round. I believe it's the St. John's Butler game first, then Seton Hall DePaul at 5:30 is the second game. Then the night game is Villanova Georgetown.
So, and y'all are going to be there for it. So kudos on that.
Georgetown is going to be coming for blood. I know that. They actually, they finally broke that stigma. They got 2 wins.
They got 2 wins. They're still toast.
Gone, so they should be.
They'll make it a rock fight, but Nova should. But I think Nova
should win. But as we've seen this season, they have a very bad habit. Of just forgetting that they know how to play baseball. Yeah, well,
except for the 2 times they played Seton Hall.
Well, that was during that one was a 4-game win streak that when all their players were healthy, that showed like, oh, this is what the team could have been like. But then they get stomped by UConn. So.
Yeah, they played competitively in that game, but I do think that Jerry. I agree with Jerry that there is a decent chance, but I personally don't think that Seton Hall will beat Xavier. But the game will be closer than the blowout a few weeks ago, and we'll see what happens.
Biggest tournament's a night fight. The team for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're going to call it right here. So thank you, JD. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kyle. Appreciate you. Thank you, Ruby Tuesday, actually for reminding us about Nippon baseball. Subarashi, arigato. And till next time, thanks, guys. Take care and stay awesome.